I'm joined now by Josh Boswell, senior reporter for DailyMail.com. Josh, I don't know about you, but that one thing, the 18-year-old telling family court that his mom and his mom's husband, Chris, put him in a chokehold in the back of the family vehicle, to me, it's not going to bode well if this other child ends up in trial.
Yeah, that was a really significant detail. And I think that, what we've got to remember here is it's not just us watching that case going through family court. And, my colleague Ben Ashford at the Daily Mail has been doing a great job covering that case. He was sat there in court watching this, a bunch of media were, but who else is going to be paying close attention to that is the FBI. And when they're putting this case together, they're going to be looking at details like that and constructing a case. It may well be that these kind of instances come up in what the prosecutors are building, presenting to a jury if it gets there, if, in fact, a member of the family is charged and we do get a murder trial here. I think that is a significant detail.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes trials can be just a lot of show and jazz hands and drama, but all those things matter because they get to the gut of the juror. And if the juror thinks that this family's normal restraint technique or discipline is a chokehold, and then they find out that the 16-year-old allegedly put his sister in a chokehold and she died, it's a little easier to get there, right? You're a little closer to reasonable, getting past reasonable doubt. Can I ask you about the custody hearing? Because that seems to be where everything's coming from, right? No one's talking about the issue of the minor child and the crime that they're investigating, which is normal. But the custody hearing is just rife with details. And it looks like, according to the mom, right, and a stepmom, they're getting close to charging the kid. What have you found out?
Yeah, so there were some really interesting statements that were coming from Chantel's lawyer as well, the stepmom's lawyer, in that custody case. So what they were saying was that it sounds like we're getting close to the point of charges. It's just a discussion of whether it's going to be federal charges or state. And there is a law where the federal law enforcement can pass a case like this over to the state law enforcement bodies to prosecute. It is a difficult thing and a not standard thing to prosecute a juvenile in federal court. There are all kinds of restrictions, and it might be a difficult case to fight because of that. But there is an issue there. Although there is a kind of legal precedent for doing that, the fact is that this murder, and I think we can call it that now, this murder seems to have occurred in international waters while that boat was sailing towards Miami. And so there is a question of jurisdiction. If they try to pass it over to state bodies, will, Miami, for example, would they actually be able to prosecute if it wasn't in Miami, it was in international waters? So it may actually end up in federal court. But that is if they do decide to charge the 16-year-old stepbrother who, according to these court documents coming out of the custody case, is a suspect. The FBI are remaining very tight-lipped on this. So this is all information we're getting from that custody case, right? But another detail that makes us, think that maybe we're getting close here is there are these various tests that are nearly back. They're not back yet, but we have a psychiatric evaluation of the 16-year-old. And we have a toxicology report, which has been, out for a while now, several weeks. And so we should be getting that fairly soon, I would have thought. Once those things are in, that's kind of putting together the key pieces of evidence that you would need in hand as an investigator before you think about charging.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.